Hey guys, tonight's project is the vent windows for the 72 Chevy truck, but the same thing will apply for anything from a 67 to a 72, and maybe for other years, maybe for even other models of Chevy vehicles. I'll start by I'll just go over all the parts here that I got, and so you know what you would need if you're going to be rebuilding yours. Obviously I got two vent windows. These are not my originals. They're two other ones I got from a guy in Texas. Now I'm working directly from a set of plans that I downloaded or I printed off of the 67 to 72 Chevy trucks board. A fellow in Green Machine on there did them up, and they're really good. He's got pictures and everything in it, so it's highly useful. And he also offers some, obviously the suggestions on how to do everything. Now what you're going to need for this rebuild is you're going to need a new set of rubbers. Now I looked at these and it said to me that there should be a left and a right, but if you look at them, they're identical. So it appears that whoever manufactured them didn't bother to make a left and a right. You need a vent window rebuild kit, which consists of mounting screws, tool to crush the rivets, and there's the standard rivets here that are used for holding the frame together, and then there's two rivets for doing the pivot on the vent window. Now I've heard of some guys foregoing the rivets and just using pop rivets. You'll need some pretty small ones. These are, I'd have to measure them to tell you what they are, but certainly when you drill out your old ones, you'll be able to size them appropriately. I suppose it might work. I personally, like for the couple of bucks that this cost, well, it cost 19 bucks for this kit or 20 bucks for this kit, so it's up to you. I had also bought a vent window assembly screw kit. It appears that might have been a little bit redundant, because all it includes beyond what I already got here is the two big bolts, and I was actually going to use some other bolts anyways that I bought, so I may not even use these. So these might be redundant, but they were only $2 a pop, so it's not too big a deal. Okay, on with it. First thing that he suggests that you do is grind a flat on this this tool, and the reason why you need to do that is you're going to be removing the top two rivets right here. Now it's kind of going to be hard to see them. There's a rivet there and there's a rivet here behind the rubber, and apparently in order to get in close on this you need to grind a flat on it. Now I'm going to see how much I need to do, and I'm going to leave that until last. I'll leave that rivet till last. But I'll leave that alone for the moment because I'd prefer to not have to modify the tool quite yet. But it's disposable, essentially disposable. This did come with a $20 kit, so no big whoops there. Now, you do need to do a little bit of cleanup on it. Remove your felts. You're going to need new felts as well. I got them because I was going to redo all the felts on the window. But nevertheless, you're going to have to pull these out because you have to knock the rivets along here out, including those top two that I just showed you. He suggests that you don't need to knock out these bottom two. I'll wait and see. They give you enough of these small rivets. Well, in my kit, I got 26 of these rivets. So 13 per window. This is a kit for both sides at the same time, or enough for both sides. So 13 should be plenty. At most I can see is 6 rivets. If I don't do these ones, 8 if I do them. You may have some loose ones, so you may want to replace them as well, like on this bracket or so on. One of the reasons why I'm a little reluctant to do what he was suggesting, which was to twist the frame, is that you might loosen up some of the other rivets, and well, to me, like if I'm going to loosen them up, I'm going to end up replacing them anyways, so I might as well just knock them out anyways, but we'll see how it works. Now he suggests that you soak this nut in PB Blaster or whatever thread release you've got. Okay, so here we go. Step 1. You want to bend these tabs back that keep the nut from rotating, and mark the nut. Now he talks about marking or noting the number of threads above the nut, but I think the easiest thing to do would be just take a scriber and mark along the bottom of the nut, and then you can see from there how high you want it to go. And if you were so inclined, you could even choose to mark the nut and the shaft, approximately where that lined up as well, and that should get you pretty damn close as well. Now he does suggest that that you want to hold the shaft here with a set of vice grips if this nut seems tight when you're taking it off, because the frame, the shaft will twist out of the frame. It's pretty light up here, so be careful. He says he did that. He learned the hard way, so take his advice. Now mine came off easy, but once again, be careful. You also want to note the position of this cam here. Now that cam is what controls the door or the window and keeps it from opening any further than it's supposed to, or presumably to a point where it would be damaged. There's also a few washers here. You might want to make special note of where those are. I've got a thin one, thick one, or medium one, and that looks like a thick one on top of there. Now, once all this comes out, what I'll need to do is I'll need to either drill out, or I think I'm going to prefer to grind out, but I'll see. I'll try the drill first, just because I don't want to risk getting any spark damage to the glass. If you do use a grinder, once again, protect it with whatever you think is adequate to keep the sparks from damaging the glass. And they will damage the glass, believe me. I've heard it said enough times. Okay, so I did drill the rivet out, and see, that's what it looks like. Now mine, it pivots on the top here, so the top portion is loose, but the rivet actually expands a little bit in this bottom one, and I actually had to drive it out with a hammer and a punch. Now I did that by resting, and it was rather precarious, resting the edge of this top piece, but not actually on the rivet, on the edge of a metal surface, and I tapped it out with a rather large hammer, and at that point it came out fairly easily. Now there's a little bit of marring on there. I'm gonna give this thing a good polishing before I do anything. It also may be bent. Now I'm gonna verify that before I hard rivet it when I'm done, and if need be I'll tweak it back upwards a bit. But I'll verify that first. When I reinserted it back in here the way it was, it almost looked like that's the way it was. Matter of fact, I could quickly take a look at the driver's side one here and just verify that, just to satisfy my curiosity. It does look pretty straight there, so I'm going to say it probably will need just a slight tweaking there. So once again, be careful when you're taking it apart. Okay, now you want to set this aside. There's nothing more to do with it, the actual glass portion. Other than if you want to polish the stainless, this probably would be a good time to do it, and I am going to do that. So set that aside, and then we'll move on to this portion. Okay, so let's move on to this portion of the window. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to install your seals here, which is this portion and this portion, the two pieces. This piece is not held in place by anything other than being trapped by both the actual vent window itself, and it has a small loop at the top here. That's why you actually have to drill out these top two rivets, is so that you can slip that over there. Now, conceivably, you could cut this and then you wouldn't have to knock those rivets out. Do it at your own risk there. Personally, I'm going to knock the rivets out, and I'll do it that way so that I don't compromise the strength of this. Because like I said, the only thing retaining it is friction, and there's a slight lip that kind of locks into the frame here. But the next thing you're going to want to do is knock out the rivets here. Now, minimally, you're going to want to knock out the 4 on here that retain this piece of stripping right here, and those 2 at the top. Now, me personally, I'm not going to be bothered to drill those. Those are going to be hard to drill out. I don't even know how you drill out that one right there in the center of the screen with a tuft of white on, or black fluff on it. So I'm just going to go at them with a die grinder with a cutoff wheel in it. I'm just going to catch them with the edge of the disc here and knock them out. I'll be honest with you, I think I'm going to knock these ones out as well. And then what I'll probably will do is I'll actually assemble the whole vent window assembly here, rivet those pieces on, because that'll actually make it a lot easier to rivet these 4 along here. And then what I'll do is I'll reassemble all the vent window bits on this piece, and then I'll do the last 4 rivets here and here. Now, one alternative way, I could have mentioned this earlier, I suppose, of taking out that pivoting, the glass portion, would have been to have knocked out these 2 rivets, and they might actually be easier to deal with here. The only thing I could see is that when the window is in place, which it would have to be when you're riveting this back, those look like they might be a little bit more difficult to get at. But I could see you doing it, whereas not this way. You bring the rivets through that way and fold them over on this top side. Yeah, it's just a thought. Okay, let's get on to knocking out these rivets, and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Okay, there we are. We're in 2 pieces here. Like I said, I was going to knock out the other rivets here. I did scuff it up a little bit with the unit, but this is all covered up, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm pretty sure that's a piece of stainless in this case, so I don't think it's going to be a problem with rusting, since that bracket there that's riveted on is rusting, but this is not rusting anywhere along the length, and I think that is just right there is just from the other piece of metal. So I don't think it's going to be a problem that that was scuffed. Now I'll knock these 4 rivets out now, or next, but I thought I'd show you this part right here and just mention one thing. When I was removing this, this appeared to be tucked, this little lip here, appeared to be tucked up underneath this wiper here, like that slightly. I don't know if it's really important, but just worth noting when you're taking yours apart. Now these little rivets had to be driven out with a punch as well, but they weren't too tough. So next things first, I don't think this piece really needs any polishing apart from here. So I think what I'll do is I'll take the rubber off of this and do that little bit of polishing. I've got some metal polishing, and I'll just use the buff wheel on the grinder there. Face protection, eye protection there as well when I was grinding. This right here looks to me like it will just need buffing on the outside. Now I'm not sure if this is actually chrome or if that's actually polished stainless steel. I think that might be chrome, so I probably don't want to do too much with it, but I'll knock these rivets out first. Now obviously at this point, if you wanted to drill these out, it'd be, peanuts to do it, because now everything is available, whereas that one would have been just about impossible to drill it from that side. Certainly could have drilled it out from this side, but it's easier just to knock the heads off the grinder. Okay, let's knock that apart. We'll take this apart and show you the results. Then I'll polish this thing up, and hopefully we can start putting it together. It might actually be back together tonight. We'll wait and see. Okay, I'm showing every step of disassembly at this stage. I just wanted to point out that looks like I'm going to need to chuck this in the sandblaster. I'm going to just hit that quickly in there, clean it up, and then I'm going to shoot some etch prime in there, and maybe top it with a little bit of regular primer, or maybe just I'll try and seal it with some rattle can paint, just to kind of seal it up. Now one thing I did notice about the seals here, here's the new ones, and remember I said that I didn't see any difference at all between them left and right, and there aren't any, but clearly the rotten bastards who made these, you can see that right there, this is meant to be on the inside of the window glass, and the one for the other side is exactly the same, and they should have been mirrored, but hopefully it's not going to mean it's going to leak there, but we'll wait and see what how this works. I'll be a little bit irritated if it matters. It may be that the vent window only comes up to this point here anyways, so it wouldn't matter on either side regardless, but we will see. Regardless, this is just going to get a light polishing. I do have to clean a little bit of glue off the top there where it was taped to it was taped together actually when it was shipped to me, and all that. Not much more to see there. No point in saving these because, well, I wouldn't have replaced them if they were worth saving. You can see it's kind of cracking out a bit there. Might have been able to clean it up with a sandblaster or something like that, but for what it's worth, you know, I'm going to replace them. Okay, sandblasting, primer, and then we'll see what we can do there, and a little bit of polishing as well. Okay, so I buffed up the stainless on here. Looks okay. I put some fingerprints on it already, but whatever. I also sandblasted this portion of the frame here, and I did polish this, but I've masked it off too to keep from getting paint on it. Okay, so in case you're wondering, this is what I used to polish the stainless on here. It's a high gloss polish. It doesn't say whether or not it's for soft or for hard metals. It just says light cleaning of all materials, so I think it worked quite well for me, so I'm happy with that. I've also sprayed my vent window frame, and it looks, you know, for something that nobody will ever see, I think it looks good enough. Okay, so that concludes the disassembly portion of the vent window rebuild. In part 2, I'll do the reassembly of the vent window. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.